Good morning. I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche Organization with your daily update for November 9th, 2021. Well, the Glasgow summit just keeps on keeping on, and today showing a sign that U.S. political correctness is sweeping the globe. The topic is gender and climate. Yesterday, the main speaker was Barack Obama, and the media is raving about him all over the world that he brought star power to what had been winding down. But if you actually look at what's going on there was something important besides Obama yesterday, which is that there has been confirmation coming from David Beasley of the World Food Program that millions, he now says 45 million people in the world are on the brink of starvation. What was the topic yesterday of the Malthusian genocidalists? The problem that food systems, that is food production and distribution, are responsible for 30% of the carbon emissions, and that this has to be reduced. Now, how are they going to reduce it? By cutting back food? By raising the price of food so people can't afford it? By using land set aside that take away productive farmland out of production? So this is the reality, that the Glasgow conference is a cover for global depopulation. And what Beasley pointed out is that in Afghanistan alone, 23 million people are moving towards starvation. And he made a relevant point. What about the billionaires? Shame on you. Why are you not providing any money? They're asking only for $7 billion to address this. He said, with $400 trillion of wealth on the earth today, shame on us that we would let any child die of hunger. Now, I'm going to take up two questions from people who are organizing for the conference coming up this weekend, the Schiller Institute Conference, which will have panels on the strategic crisis, the economic crisis, the science question, and culture. You can log on and for the conference or register for it at schillerinstitute.com. But I want to address some of the questions organizers are raising about what they are running into in their organizing for the event. One from someone who goes by the moniker Motorcycle Cowboy, who's a regular contributor to the daily update. He asked, what assurance do we have that if we give aid to the Taliban, it won't go into exporting terrorism, etc.? Now, the answer is simple. We have no assurance. They have a bad record, but they claim that they're willing to work with other countries to do things differently this time. But that's why we need an international commitment to address the problem of starvation and the humanitarian aid that's needed for Afghanistan, and then beyond that, the reconstruction that's necessary. We will provide aid, but we expect you to behave. But we're not going to let your people starve. Now, the assurance that we do have is that if no aid is provided, millions will starve to death. They'll die from cold, from disease. Look, there's 40 years of war in that country, which was initiated when Zbigniew Brzezinski lured the Soviets to invade Afghanistan in 1979. And we armed the forces that became the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda during the 80s. That is, the United States, under Vice President George Bush and the CIA, aided the building of what became a jihadist army to repel the Soviets. And when the Soviets left, we did nothing to help them then, which led to the rise of the Taliban. We went in 2001, eventually overturned the Taliban government, and said we were doing nation building, but how was this nation building a success when in fact the Taliban were able to move so quickly to take over the country again? The corruption that was there, not just internal corruption, but the corruption of the defense contractors who were supposedly engaging in nation building. So if we don't provide aid, this will be a permanent stain on the record of the United States for all history, that after 40 years of war, which led to super profits for the military-industrial complex firms, we did nothing to stop starvation. We let people die. And this is a reminder that the same thing was done in Iraq. When the Clinton administration sanctions against Iraq in the mid-1990s, led to the deaths of more than 500,000 Iraqi children from lack of access to medicine, lack of food, lack of gas for transportation. The genocide that occurred there, 500,000 children. When Albright was asked about it, does she think it was worth it? She said it was worth it to help bring down Saddam Hussein. An open admission that the United States will engage in policies that lead to 500,000 deaths. Now we face a situation where 20 to 30 million people face starvation in Afghanistan. And National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said, we're not going to release the funds because we don't trust the Taliban. Well, how about working together with Russia, China, Pakistan, Iran, other countries in the area, India, to form a goodwill alliance, what Helga Zeppler-Rusch is calling for, Project Ibn Sina, to provide medical care, to provide emergency food, and then to begin to rebuild the country based on extending the Belt and Road Initiative of China into Afghanistan. What do we have to lose? We already lost a war. We lost American lives over there. We lost trillions of dollars. Why not spend money wisely in investing in the future of a country that up until now we've done nothing but destroy? Now, the second question came up on this from a regular contact about the difficulty they have in talking about China, because there's so much about China, the so-called genocide in Xinjiang, the military threats, the Chinese building up their military. Why are they doing that? Are they going to attack Taiwan? And on and on and on. But here's the question. Why is China's economic development a threat to the United States? Why does the fact that a nation of 1.2 to 1.4 billion people engage in the kind of economic policies that we used to have, investing in infrastructure, investing in productive industry, in science and technology, in educating the children? Why is that a threat to the United States? If we have good intentions, why would we feel threatened by their emergence? More importantly, they've lifted 800 million people out of poverty. Is that bad? Is that a threat to mankind? No, it's not a threat to the American people. It's a threat to the oligarchy, which had hoped to continue to use China as a source of cheap labor and income flowing into their bankrupt financial system. But here's the real point. What did Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum, the Davos group, what did he say about economic development? He basically said acting to alleviate poverty, to create a better future for people, is bad for nature. And therefore, it's the desire that people have for a better future which is driving climate change. This is bunk. It's bad science, it's a fraud, and it's an excuse for billionaires to plunder the planet while claiming they're doing good by rolling back the seas. Now, the reality is that mankind is part of nature. In fact, if you look at what we've done historically, man has helped to cultivate the planet, to develop the planet. As we advance in our scientific knowledge, we do things that replenish resources, that give us the capability to increase the population, which increases the rate at which we can improve the planet, and then go beyond the planet into space. Why is that for Schwab and Prince Charles and Mark Carney and the Malthusian genocidalists, including John Kerry? Why is that so bad? Instead, we should be working with China. And the Chinese once again offered to help the United States with the U.S. infrastructure projects that Biden has proposed, because as they said, the hollowing out of American industry means that you don't possess the capital goods capability to build the modern infrastructure that you claim you want. So if you look at these two questions, it becomes clear. What's going on at Glasgow is an embarrassment for mankind, a shame on mankind, and the fact that the U.S. is participating, that the Western European nations are participating in this, is a sign of the absolute takeover of narratives coming from the richest people in the world who are committed to preserving their wealth while reducing the world's population. That's not what the United States is about. That's why we're having a conference, to provide a forum for people who have differing views on how to do it, but who nevertheless are committed to ending the control of the world by this banker's dictatorship and restoring, where it was in the past, a level of Republican citizens who can run their own countries, and taking away the power from the super wealthy, and at the same time ending the legacy of colonialism in the developing sector. So sign up to join our conference. It begins at 10 a.m. this Saturday morning, November 13th. You go to theschillerinstitute.com to find the registration form. Click on, it's free. You can watch from your home or your work, and get your friends to join us also. So thank you for joining me today. I hope this is helpful in your organizing, and that you'll take up the challenge of getting more people to participate in this conference this weekend.